Hey everyone, it's Mari. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I have a project today for the My Creative Scrapbook Kit Club, and I'm working today with the March main kit. I'm going to be creating a 12 by 12 layout using some of the beautiful papers from the Bloom Street collection from Paige Evans and Pink Paisley that are in the kit. And I'm going to be using this paper number 24 that has just this beautiful rainbow of pastel colors. And I'm going to cut this paper into strips. I was thinking I might do a little bit of mixed media on this layout, and I was also thinking maybe I might use one of the cut files from the kit this month, but I decided to actually not do either of those latter two things. You'll see what I end up doing here very shortly. But I do use 5 of these strips of this paper for embellishments on my layout, and I really like how it turned out. So this paper is just super fun. There's so many things that you could do with this. If you also, another way that you could cut it is horizontally, so kind of going along the paper in those white lines across it. I think that'd be a really cool effect too, but I decided to use it as a vertical piece on my layout here. So I'm just going to cut a few more strips, and what I will also do is a little bit of stitching and with my sewing machine here on these strips as well on my layout. Another one of the papers that I am going to use is one of the text papers from Bloom Street, and I love how that text paper obviously just matches up with all of the other papers in the collection, and it's just going to be a really, really pretty base for my project here. So I will just set the cut files aside. I eventually will realize that I'm not going to use this white paper. I'll save that for another project when I decide that I'm going to do some mixed media. I like the idea too of using an uneven number of these strips, so I am going to put 3 of the strips on the left side of the layout and then 2 on the other side. So there's that text paper that I'm going to use as the base for my layout. I just love this paper. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going to, once again, just still think about using these cut files, but anyhow, I end up setting those aside. I'm going to just cut one little area off the top of each one of these strips and one off the bottom, and so that they've got that sort of like an arrow looking shape, and I will do that to all 5 of the strips. The My Creative Scrapbook Kit Club also has exclusive cut files, and the cut files this month are so pretty. I just love them. And some of the papers have butterflies, and some of the die cut pieces have butterflies, and then this particular cut file that I was thinking about using has a butterfly as well. So I just think that's really cool. And there's just some really, really cool cut files this month with some florals. They're so pretty, and I had a lot of fun using some of them on some of my projects. So now you can just see here how I'm thinking about arranging these. And eventually I am going to add those over to that text paper. I just wasn't really sure how to use the text paper in conjunction with the white paper, and it dawns on me that I'm just not going to end up doing any mixed media on this layout, so I might as well just go straight to that text paper and use that as a background. It's a subtle enough paper that it works really super well for a background. I really like that. It's not too busy, and yet it's got enough detail that it just adds some interest to the project. There's one of those floral cut files that I have cut too. What I do is when I'm thinking about using some cut files, what I often will do is I'll cut a whole sheet of cut files at one time. So that's exactly what I did when I first started to work with a kit. I just went in and I cut a whole bunch of the cut files from March and just had them on my desk so that they'd be ready as embellishments when I felt like going ahead and using those. So one of the challenges with using these strips is ensuring that you get them on there straight. I don't know if I really got these on here straight. I end up using my ruler, and I just really did my best at getting them on here straight. But anyways, This is another one of the Bloom Street papers. I actually fussy cut, I think, 3 different sheets of paper from this kit because there were so many great papers for fussy cutting. And I ended up with a ton of embellishments with these different papers that I did fussy cut. So I'm going to do some fussy cutting from that paper particularly there that I showed you and create several clusters. In fact, I think 3 clusters on this layout with all of those different pieces. So I'm just working away here at fussy cutting this flower out. I will cut a yellow one and add that as well beside the pink one. I'm going to add these to the bottom of the photograph. And I just love all of these smaller little bits and pieces of flowers and the leaves. I'm going to absolutely use all of these little bits and pieces in the 3 little clusters that I'm going to be creating. Now I'm going to take this really bright pink paper that I used on another layout, and I'm going to use that to map my photo. I just love that it's a really bright pink and it's going to really draw your attention to the photograph on the layout. So I'm going to pop the photograph up on some foam tape, and then I will just trim that photo up on my Tim Holtz trimmer. Now I'm just going to take my T-square ruler here and just make sure that I've got my photo properly nice and straight here on my layout. And I'm just showing you here I did a strip of stitching along the 2 sides of the layout there. So just 1 row of stitching on the one side and 1 row of stitching on the other. So that just adds a little bit of detail on the layout as well. Now I'm going to take a combination of tape runner and foam adhesive to add all of these little fussy cut bits onto the layout. So I'm going to just start here below the photograph, and I don't want to cover a bunch of the photo up, so I'm just kind of trying to keep these little pieces back as much as I can from the details in the photo. And I will just overlap it a tiny little bit at the bottom, and then just going in with my foam adhesive and popping up these little bits to get a little bit of dimension on the layout in that way. So I'm just going to keep doing that until I've got that all good to go. And then I'll just go in with the rest of these little bits and just kind of stick them in and around the floral pieces. So these really pretty leaves, I'll stick those in. And then there's just some other little vines and other little floral pieces that will layer in here nicely as well. I will add a little bit of liquid adhesive to some of these little bits and just stick them in behind there and just adhere those down in that way. So just going to finish these little cluster areas up. This photo that I'm using here, I printed in black and white. It's the dimensions of the photo are 4x3, so that if you want to scrap lift this layout and you wanted to know what size that photo is, that is what size I have printed. I do print all of my photos on my Epson PictureMate printer. I'm not sure if you can get that exact printer anymore, but I have linked up in the description box below to a printer that's the newer version of my printer. I actually have that printer on my wish list, and I think it just, what I would like about it is that it's wireless and it prints up to 5x7. The little PictureMate that I have does neither of those 2 things, but I still really like my little printer for what it does do. And I do really appreciate printing from home. So I can get, I think, about 150 4x6 photos out of a cartridge of ink. So that's pretty good. And I do feel like it's a pretty economical way still for me to print. So you can just see now I'm going to create a little cluster up at the top of the photo as well. So I'm going to just kind of duplicate the same process here. I'm using my little glue dots, and I'm using some foam adhesive and then my tape runner plus a little bit of liquid adhesive, all of those different types of adhesive to get the look that I want here to create the different layers. And I just wanted to not put anything too large at the top there. I'm just kind of adding some smaller, more delicate pieces up at the top, and then the larger, heavier florals at the bottom there under the photo. And I will add another cluster down at the bottom on the right on the layout as well. And I will put even fewer details and bits down in that area as well. So I'm just finishing up here with that top cluster. You can see all of the different colors in that floral paper that I fussy cut just go along nicely with all of the different colors in the different papers. And I just am so in love with this Bloom Street collection. It is so pretty. It is, I think it might be my favorite collection of pages so far, which is tough, right? Because her collections are all so pretty. But I just love these pastel colors. So springy and so pretty. I love it so much. Now, some of the little fussy cut pieces are so tiny, but they're perfect for just these little embellishments, right? So instead of perhaps adding enamel dots, you can just add these tiny little fussy cut florals, and they're perfect. I love that. So I'm just adding a few here and there around each of the different clusters. I also added some of these gorgeous alphas that come in the kit as well. They're so pretty. They're like an iridescent glitter. And I just spelled out the word bloom on the side there. And I did my journaling in journaling strips there just for my computer. And I popped those up on some foam adhesive. Now I'm just taking the sticker sheet from the kit as well. This is also from Bloom Street, and I'm just going to add a few of these little phrase stickers here and there. And just kind of considering adding that other cluster down to the bottom right corner. You'll see that here when we just shift to the next frame of the video here, and you'll see there I'm just starting to create that little cluster, and I just use the same technique as I did with the other cluster areas. That's about it for this layout. I really like how this turned out. Please make sure you check out the link in the description box below to the My Creative Scrapbook Kit Club, and check out all of the different kits that you can subscribe to over at the Kit Club. I do have some still shots here for you, and I also have links to other products that I've used as well in the description box below if you want to check that out. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I really appreciate it. Have an amazing day, and I hope to see you again here on my channel. Bye-bye.